final step of getting your sewer tiles ready is texture and effects. And here we're going to go over the basics. Start off, we're going to use Vallejo's gloss varnish. And this is going to go only on the middle sluiceway and give it a really good shiny feel. Feel free to go a little bit heavy. Make sure you get it up into the corners. And if you get a little bit on the walkways, no problemo. We're going to knock out a couple more pieces here, and you can see already how that's starting to shine up. Let's take an overlook now as those dried up and looking pretty good and shiny. Moving on now to the next step. Here, if you're familiar with Black Magic Craft with the Tabletop Crafting Guild, he has a technique for flocking that he just did, combining PVA glue, as you see here, with flocking. So you're going to get a fair amount of PVA glue built up in there and use Woodland Scenic's burnt grass and green grass. Now here we're going to go about 75% burnt grass, 25% green grass. Don't go shy, as you'll see later, we're actually going to add up a little bit more. You want to have a pretty nice thick consistency. When you slather this on, it is going to dry out a lot, so the thicker the better at this point. And we're just going to keep on mixing it up until we get to that consistency that we like. We're getting pretty close there. You can go thicker if you want. Just remember, when you lay it on, you want that to be nice and thick. Now take your old beat up dry brushing brush, get a nice big amount of it on there, and remember to go on a little bit thick. Again, I can't stress it enough, this will dry out a lot. So put big chunks on there, be kind of random. Pay attention to how the water would flow through the tiles. And think about all the sludge, the buildup that would come through, and place it kind of accordingly. Put a little bit of a thin strip along the whole way, but then randomly really build up a nice big pile of it. Get it up on top of the bricks too, on the walkways. A little bit of splash over, it's going to add to a nice effect. I do tend to stay a little bit away from the edges, just as to where the pieces made up with each other stops to have a uneven feel. Here we go. Really get up there on the sides. The corners are a really good example of how it would naturally move. Now we're going to take a look at it all dried up. And here you'll see where I was talking about how it really thins out. And this is why we will later on add the slime effects. Bring that up. You see that's also dried up nice and hard with the PVA glue. You don't really have to worry about it flaking off like you normally would with flock. For the sludge and slime, we're just going to use Woodland Scenic's Realistic Water, a simple 1-part solution, and we're going to mix that together with Citadel's Elysian Green. Took me a moment to get it in focus here, but there we go for you guys. It's a very sludgy green. Gave this a really nice effect. You don't need a whole lot. A little goes a long way on this. Every time I do it, I end up with a little bit extra. So we can mix it in, get it sort of opaque, but with a good vibrant feel to it. If you do make extra, this does store in the fridge if you wrap it up in cellophane, but only for about a week. Alright, now you don't want to go across the whole thing when you're adding this in. Kind of random spots here and there. Let it pool up into nice big blobs. Adds a nice contrast with the dark flocking. Now every now and then you're going to want to take a random piece and go right down the middle It'll grab onto all the brick textures in there. Here we have a final look. I did one more coat of the gloss varnish just to make it stand out and seal it up a bit better. I really like how these ones turned out. Now let's take a look at them in action. Here's a full city village set with a couple of the extra new walkways. There you go. Make your own now.